All right, Knicks fans, it's time. It's time for an intervention. Starts today. Knicks lose to the Mavs 114-97 in a brutal loss against one of the NBA's worst teams. Let's just be honest here. They don't have Kyrie this year. They don't have Anthony Davis. They're missing half of their roster. They're 4-14 on the road. They come into the Garden. They lead by as much as 30. The Knicks don't look interested at times. The Knicks don't look like a professional basketball team at times. We can go through the stats all we want, but the fact of the matter is that on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a team that is one of the worst in the NBA just went into the Garden and absolutely smacked the Knicks, giving them 9 losses out of their last 11 games. And it is officially panic mode in New York City. Josh Hart returned. He didn't have a great game. Seemed like he was still hurting from that ankle injury that he suffered. Jalen Brunson returned. He seemed kind of rusty. Really couldn't get anything going offensively. It felt like no matter how hard the Knicks tried, and I'm not going to sit here and say they quit, because I feel like sometimes it looks like you quit when you're playing bad. Sometimes the harder you try, the worse it looks. Someone like Karl-Anthony Towns, who we'll get to in a second, I don't think he quit today. He was consistently trying to put the ball in the hoop and blowing his way to the rim, just could not make it happen. He ended up having 22 points, and it's not me excusing him or his role for anything that's going on right now, but that's just me saying that I don't think that a lot of this is because of effort. I think some of it can be at times, but I don't think that's mostly the problem. Same thing with Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges just disappeared. I don't know what's going on with him. He's somebody who earlier in the year seemed to thrive under Mike Brown's offense. Now they seem to revert it back to less ball movement, and it seems like we're getting the Mikal Bridges of last year as well. Just overall, I mean, there's really nothing to point at here that's positive except for Mitchell Robinson having a fantastic game and Mitchell Robinson keeping this from being an absolute embarrassment for the whole game. I mean, if it wasn't for Mitch in the first half, this could have been a 40-point game, and I don't even think I'm exaggerating here. It was that bad. It was that bad of a game. They could not stop Najee Marshall. No one off the bench outside of Mitch did anything. Deuce couldn't hit a shot. Again, OG's in a shooting slump still. It's just not looking good for the Knicks. They lose to the Mavericks again, and right now it is time to about face and have an honest conversation with what's going on with this team. And for my money, there's a lot of things going on. It's not just one thing. Now, I think a lot of Knicks fans are diagnosing a problem as Karl-Anthony Towns. Some are saying Mike Brown. Some are saying effort. To me, I think it's everything at particular times. Like I just said, as far as the effort's concerned, I think I do see effort here and there. And for the most part, I think I see it. You know, you have someone like Deuce McBride come out in the postgame and say that, you know, they're not meeting the intensity of the other team. And I do agree with that. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Knicks are giving 100% effort all the time. What I am saying is, though, I do see effort here. And I don't think they quit on this coach. I don't think they've quit on each other. There's a narrative going around that that's the case. I don't necessarily believe in that. Now, do I believe that there's something in the locker room that's going on? Possibly. I don't know what that could be. But something is happening behind the scenes that is manifesting itself on the court. You saw Jalen Brunson in the second quarter huddle his team around and basically try to give him a pep talk. That didn't work. They actually went from being down 14 when that moment happened to being down 20-something at the break. Maybe effort, some of it, maybe it's not, but I do think that it's natural as a human being that when you get this low, you just kind of, it's like quicksand. You just keep sinking. You keep sinking. The harder you try, the worse you perform. And I think the Knicks are going through something like that. Is Mike Brown a problem? I'm not sure. You know, the Knicks have tried to move away from the staleness that was Tom Thibodeau's offense. You know, try different lineups. The reason why Tom Thibodeau was placed by Mike Brown was because he seemed to be more flexible. You know, the Knicks front office wanted somebody who can come in and make the changes that the front office thought that the Knicks should be making on the court, and Mike Brown was able to do so. And let's just be honest, in the first 20 or so games of this season, the Knicks were looking really good at times. I mean, they were looking like the best team in the Eastern Conference. They won the NBA Cup. You had contributions off the bench from Tyler Kolek, Diawara. You had a more open lineup. You had a more free-flowing way of playing basketball. They looked like they took another step forward with this core. Mikal Bridges, again, was balling on earlier in the year. So there were good things about this Knicks team to start the year. Something has happened. Now, is Mike Brown to blame for what's going on right now? He has to hold some responsibility, right? There has to be some type of accountability to the head coach for not being able to get your team in the right mindset to play a basketball game. There just has to be. I like Mike Brown, but there has to be some type of accountability. if this doesn't get fixed soon, someone has to go. And the Knicks front office is going to have to make a decision whether that person is Mike Brown or Karl-Anthony Towns. Because right now, everything is pointing to one of those two people having to leave this organization in order for the Knicks to go forward. Now, that's all depending on what's really happening here. Is it that players have stopped responding to Mike Brown? Or is it that Karl-Anthony Towns' presence in the locker room and amongst that team is just not working? There were reports after the playoffs last year that a lot of Knicks were frustrated because Karl-Anthony Towns could not just understand defensive assignments, would refuse to understand defensive assignments, the importance of them. Is that still happening? Cat does not seem to be happy under Mike Brown. He doesn't know what his role in the offense is. It seems to be inconsistent. He's been trying to say the right things in the media, but you can tell there's frustration there. Is that something where you look at it when you're Leon Rose and you say, okay, well, we try to bring in this new coach. Obviously, we've hit rock bottom. We are not going to be able to reach our potential. We're going to have to let him go. I've been saying this for about a week now. It would not surprise me if they let Mike Brown go. They signed him to a 4-year deal, but we all know that the Knicks window, the best opportunity right now is this year. No Jason Tatum, no Tyrese Halliburton. You have a roster as talented as anybody in the Eastern Conference. The year is this year. You can't waste this year waiting to see if Mike Brown can get this thing together, right? If he has lost a team, he has lost a team, and you got to make a change. And only the guys in the locker room and the front office know what's going on in that locker room. But there can't be this, we'll see if Mike can turn it around type thing. If you're giving him that grace period starts now and it lasts a couple games. Let's see what he could do. Now, I don't know who the replacement would be. I don't know who's available. I don't know who the Knicks would go after. But that's something that I think that Leon Rose and company should really consider. And I'm not really a big fan of doing that. If this was another situation, if the Knicks had more time, if, they didn't go all in on this season, it would be a little different. But that's not the case. The case is the Knicks are going all in. They gave up 5 picks for Mikal Bridges. They traded Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo for Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, this is a year where the Knicks have pushed the chips all in. And if it's not working with Mike Brown, it's not working. Same can be said for Karl-Anthony Towns. This is the second year with Karl-Anthony Towns coming to the Knicks. Now, last year they made the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think a lot of Knicks fans just kind of scoff at it like, yeah, whatever. But Cat is still a problem. Now, there's a lot that went into the Eastern Conference Finals playoff berth. I mean, obviously, you beat the Celtics in the second round. They have to collapse in 2 games for you to get there. There's a lot of context involved as well. But Karl-Anthony Towns doesn't really seem to mesh with his team. There have been concerns with his defense, even on his best nights, where he can't really guard the pick and roll. Teams pick on him, especially in the playoffs. It has always been a concern. And now there's a growing concern that he's not fitting in with the offense. And it seems like it's affecting the locker room. Something has happened with this team. He doesn't seem to be happy. The team doesn't really seem to be happy. They're saying all the right things behind the scenes, but it looks like maybe this Karl-Anthony Towns experiment or decision just seems not to be working. Do you give Mike Brown a chance and trade Karl-Anthony Towns to a team that might want to take on his contract and might want to build around him in the next few years? Stephen Bondy of the New York Post proposed a trade of Drew Holiday and Jeremy Grant from the Portland Trailblazers over to the Knicks for Karl-Anthony Towns and Tyler Kolek. Now, in return, you get a point guard who can guard the perimeter. You get a point guard who can play on-the-ball defense and stay with Jeremy Grant, who can play defense on the wing and hit the 3. 2 veteran guards who can help out the defense and the shooting of this Knicks team. And I think that's something that we don't talk about as a team, as a fan base at least, is that this team needs point-of-attack defenders. We can talk all we want about effort, but if they can't play defense, if they can't guard their man, if they're letting everyone get into the paint, it's not good. I watched the Pistons Celtics last night, and the perimeter defense and point-of-attack defense was on another level than what the Knicks have been doing all year, than what I've seen from the Knicks for years. It's not easy getting into the paint. It's not as easy. The way the Mavericks were getting into the paint last night was a joke. So if you're going to trade Karl-Anthony Towns, to me, it's going to have to be a player like Drew Holiday and a Jeremy Grant, 2 really good defenders. There has been a trade proposal. They're saying that maybe Karl-Anthony Towns could be available for Wendell Carter Jr. or Jalen Suggs in Orlando. That's another good trade. Now, I don't know why Orlando would do it. Orlando themselves has Eastern Conference, aspirations. I don't know why they would blow it up. Obviously, you have Anthony Black there. Maybe he could take Jalen Suggs' spot. But why would you trade with a rival in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Suggs would have to play point guard or shooting guard, I guess, off ball with Jalen Brunson. He's a fantastic defender. That solves that problem. Wendell Carter Jr. is a good defender as well. It takes care of, the gaping hole that Karl Anthony Towns would leave. You would have a more defensive center. He's somebody who could stretch the floor as well and shoot the three. Not as well Karl Anthony Towns, but he can still shoot the three. So that makes sense. I just don't know why the Magic would do something like that. But that's a trade, something like that I would approve of as well. If we're going to get back players who can defend, especially on the perimeter for Karl Anthony Towns, I might be for it. But there are not many cases where that's the case. The Giannis dream is a pipe dream right now. I don't think they're going to trade for Giannis midseason. I don't think the Bucks are going to bail them out. Right now, with the way the Knicks are playing, teams know that the Knicks they don't have any leverage in negotiations. They can rip the Knicks off for Cat. You're not going to have to give what you normally would give for Cat. The only thing you would have to do is match the salary because Cat makes so much. So I don't know who's available, what's available, but I do know something has to change. And I do know, just based off the context clues and how this team has changed in the past 2 years, that the thing that has to change is either Mike Brown or Karl Anthony Towns. One has to stay, one has to go. We have reached that point. The Knicks have looked pathetic in this streak. This is no longer we're in a rut. This is no longer peaks and valleys and we're in a valley. This is, okay, it's time to panic. It's time to have intervention. Something is going on in this team, with this team. Something. And some people might think it's the coach. Some people might think it's Karl Anthony Towns. I think it's a little bit of roster construction. Like I just said, this team is not as athletic as other young teams in the league. They don't have the perimeter defenders that most teams have, and it's like the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics. They don't have the speed on the perimeter to keep up with a lot of guards. You do have OG Anunoby, you do have Mikal Bridges, but they're different. Like OG can guard anybody on any given night, but you don't have like now Jose Alvarado, for instance, somebody who we said might be traded to the Knicks on this channel. You don't have someone like that who can really get up in you and prevent you from getting into the paint. We get Mikal Bridges. That's what we were supposed to get in him. He was supposed to be a wing stopper. And he's been good off ball, and in some spots, he's been good defensively. OG has been fantastic, but he's only one player. And then you got to hide Jalen. So I think it's a mixture of everything. I think you're seeing everything come to a head. I don't think you can just point at one thing and go, you are the problem. I think the Knicks have a lot of things they need to work out. I think they have a lot of things they need to get better at. I think this roster is a little bit flawed. And I think that it's going to take a lot of honest, hard looking in the mirror from a lot of Knicks and just playing better. Mikal Bridges, you have to play better. It's as simple as that. OG, you have to shoot better. This is what it is at this point. So I would like to know what you think. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Like the video. What do you think is the problem with the Knicks? Do you think it's Karl Anthony Towns? Do you think it's Mike Brown? Do you think it's roster construction? Do you think they quit? And if they have quit on this coach, should he be removed? Or should we just blow it up? Which I'm not in favor of. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Let's bear this one out, Knicks fans. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Knicks Latest. Peace.